I'm going to record this class, but I'm not sure that I'll upload it because I'm not sure that I have the right authority and or conclusion. I'm responding to Rabbi's request, suggestion that we say Shechianu for the good news about the hostages. Um, I seem to remember that there's a discussion about this. So the discussion is in the Gemara Brachos. I couldn't find Rav Melamed's opinion about it, except for in the minhag of Ashkenazi not to buy anything new during the Sephira. So one of the suggestions was that if you want to be very strict, so instead of saying Shechianu, you say Hatov Ametiv. So the difference between the two blessings is Shechianu v'kimanu v'gyanu azman hazeh is something that each and every one of us says when something happy happened to us. Um, so if it's buying a new fruit, like we talked about the etrog last week, or buying a new shirt or something else. So if it's something that only we will enjoy, like a shirt or a fruit, then we say shechianu. But if it's something that we share with others, like a car or a house, then the blessing that the Talmud says is hatov ametiv. So we're jumping into the Gemara discussion. The Mishnah says. Al Besarot Tovot Omer Baruch Tov Amativ. So when one hears good news, they say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Hatov Amativ, which means that Hashem is good and does good. And so the Gemara is discussing now if you heard about rain that fell in a field or in a certain area after a drought, then that is the proper blessing. And they're wondering, why is it Hatov Amativ and not something else? And so the first opinion is the Idi Chazam Echzei, which means that both of them that both saw it, but one is that he saw that the rain came in a difficult way, and the other one that saw it in a plentiful way. So basically, 2 points of view. And then the other comment is no, they both saw that it came in plentiness, but one has land and the other one doesn't have land. So he's basically just blessing for the fact that the world around him is enjoying this rain. And then they went into this discussion specifically about a new house and new utensils. So again, a contradiction from the Mishnah where it says "Bana bayit chadash v'kana kelim chadashim," a new house and new clothing or utensils. Shechianu v'kimanu v'gyanu zman. And so the answer is shelo v'shel charim. If it's something that he shares with others, then the blessing is hatov v'amativ, which is that we say it basically for others. I think the most surprising halacha that comes as a result of this is that if somebody hears that a relative of theirs passed away, they're supposed to say Dayana Emet, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Dayana Emet, like we say in the Levaya. We say it with Shem Malchut. In the old days, that's how they did it immediately upon hearing the bad news. But the Shulchan Aruch says, very surprisingly, that if you found out that the person who died left you an inheritance, you say the two completely opposite blessings. You say Dayana Emet because of the bad news that the person died, but you say Hatov Ametiv because the person left you an inheritance and you come into the money or whatever it is that they left you. Um, Today, I guess we have the reading of the will, and it's a different time. But in those days, I think it was, I guess, immediate, and people knew that kind of news. Last but not least, Birkat Tova Mativ was added into Birkat Hamazon. So the three first blessings are what's called Doraita, biblical, and the first blessing was apparently constituted by Moshe Rabbeinu about the fact that we have food from Hashem. The second blessing, which includes the blessing and the thankfulness for the land of Israel, was instituted by Joshua after they conquered the land. And the third blessing, Bonei Yerushalayim, was about David just before the temple was built, but we changed the wording slightly to make it into also blessing for the Beit HaMikdash and for Binyan Yerushalayim, and we say Bonei Yerushalayim, Bonei Barachama Yerushalayim, Amen. That's how we conclude the biblical part of it, and we say it in the present tense, just like we say the Amida in the present tense about all of our requests. So Hashem is building Jerusalem slowly but surely. Every wedding of a Jewish couple, we say that it's another ruin of Jerusalem that is being built. And then the fourth blessing was instituted after the second rebellion was over. So this is one of the saddest times in our history. Obviously, the Holocaust is more in our generation and we know about it more. And October 7th, which was exactly 2 years ago, was the most Jews killed in one day since the Holocaust was over. And that is a proper statistic that we are still terrified to even think about it. But the return of the hostages today, as much as we are joyful about it, it's not something that affected us personally. In my humble understanding, I will discuss it with from Shmuel later, but that's why I said I'm not sure that I'm uploading this shiur, but I think that instead of Shechianu, which would be if somebody from the family got to see them, first of all, the blessing is Machaya Ametim. After not seeing somebody for 12 months, there's a special blessing, even if it's just you going to visit your childhood friend or a relative that you haven't seen in more than 12 months. The blessing is Mechaya Ametim, because even with postal services and telephone calls, it's not clear that we know for sure that somebody is doing well. So when we see them face to face, we say Mechaya Ametim. But if it was less than 12 months, then the blessing is Shechianu. Again, that's when it's something personal. I think based on the blessing, so going back to Birkat Hamazon, the fourth blessing was written, composed by the rabbis in Yavne after the Roman Empire allowed us to bury the people who were killed in the second rebellion. It's called Harugei Beitar as a general word, because specifically in Beitar, which is somewhere in the hills of Judea, I don't think it's where today Beitar Elite is, but probably close by. They weren't allowed to bury them for 7 years, and that was a gigantic tragedy. And when they were allowed to, the people who were involved, like I said, blessed Hatov Ametiv, because it wasn't something personal. It wasn't they weren't burying their own relatives. Their own relatives, I guess, again, would say Shechianu, but when it's something national like this, I think the proper blessing is Hatov Ametiv. But again, I'm not a posek. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will continue to hear only good news, and Hashem will continue to build Yerushalayim and to build the Jewish real pride, and we'll have a real Chag Sameach and dance tomorrow night. So we'll stop here and open up for questions.